This is the Hunt Quietly podcast. I'm Matt Ranella. Hey, dear listener, I want to see if I can get your help with something. You know, it's an incontrovertible fact that high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting is in free fall decline in this country. And we're trying to do something about that, man. That's one of the main things we focus on in this podcast. Additionally, we also have a nonprofit, Hunters for Access, that tries to counteract negative trends in hunting access by showing appreciation to landowners that are enrolled in state-run programs that allow public hunting access. And we got a lot of events coming up, man. And some of these events cost money. We're hosting appreciation dinners to support access in Wyoming through the Access Yes program. We're hosting another appreciation dinner in Kansas in support of the walk-in hunter access program. We have multiple appreciation dinners that we're attending where we're going to be giving out a lot of very nice door prizes in Montana. And we need your help with this, man. Like, hunters should just be behind Hunters for Access. Even if you don't live in those states I mentioned. We have things going on in other states as well, and we're trying to get chapters up and running in other states to support other state-run programs. But even if you never hunt in a state that's been touched by Hunters for Access, there's still a strong case to be made that you should be supporting our organization because it's all connected, man. The higher quality the hunting is in state A, the less likely people are going to be to crowd and lease and buy up exclusive hunting property in state B. It's all connected. We're all in this together. When we improve hunt quality in one state, it has all kinds of positive spillover effects in other states. So, yeah, it's just the case that hunters throughout this country should support Hunters for Access. And there's really two ways you can do this. You can go to huntersforaccess.org and make a direct contribution there. And I really, really encourage you to do this. And another thing you could do if you wanted to support the Hunt Quietly message, in addition to supporting Hunters for Access, you can go to huntquietly.org and buy our merch. When you buy our merch, 100% of the proceeds go to supporting Hunters for Access. And Hunters for Access is not a traditional quote-unquote hunting conservation nonprofit where it's like they do something positive with 20 cents on the dollar and use the other 80 cents for R3 and advertising and salaries. 0% of the money you give to Hunters for Access goes to salaries, advertising, R3. 100% goes to showing appreciation to landowners in this country that provide public hunting access. If you're concerned about the future of hunting in this country, high quality, publicly accessible, non-pay hunting, then I can't think of a better way to direct your philanthropic expenditures than by supporting Hunters for Access. So please, man, help take the stress off of trying to keep this nonprofit going and get these events funded and make a contribution. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
What do you do?
I work for a cybersecurity technology company in sales.
Oh, break that down for me.
So it's a pretty technical product, but what we do is we monitor network traffic within like data centers, or their, networks within their buildings or like malicious activity.
Like a
Uh,
data center, is that where the servers are?
yeah, exactly. So
These are the places like they're building them all over the place, and people are concerned about how many of them are going in and all that.
yeah, so most of the data centers they're building right now are all for like the ones that people are mad about are the AI infrastructure, but I mean, there's been data centers for 30 plus years that most large companies are running their applications in.
They
Uh,
take a lot of power, right?
yeah, well, especially the AI ones because they're running tons of GPUs and compute power. So they're very resource intensive.
Um, what about crypto? They,
Uh,
don't those crypt like the places where the I don't know the crypto servers are the same kind of deal. They take a lot of
yeah,
power, right?
yeah, definitely they do to the point now where a couple years ago I was actually talking to a company that was building out a crypto data center, and I just asked them, I'm like, isn't that like not very profitable to do Bitcoin mining now? And they were actually a natural gas producer, and they used the excess gas that wasn't going into the lines to run these systems. So they're essentially getting free power.
Wow, man, I wish I understood crypto.
You and me both. Like I understand it at a high level, but I don't know. I'm still skeptical of it, which means you should probably invest in it because anything I'm skeptical of usually takes off.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a computer that plays a game, and somehow that's when it wins games, you get money, right? Something like that.
No, how blockchain works, and somebody
Is
listening
that
to
different
this will
than crypto?
no, I mean it's the same. Cryptocurrency runs off of a blockchain, and the blockchain is like an algorithm that verifies transactions. Uh, and I'm probably getting some of it wrong. I work in technology, but I'm not super technical. I know enough to sound like I know what I'm talking about occasionally.
Sounds good so far. Yeah, I it just go. I've tried to watch some little videos on it and stuff, and it just goes in one ear and out the frickin' other. I just can't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the concept. My question is like,
You do? Well, give me that.
well, like with Bitcoin, right? Like it's supposed what it was made for was to be an alternate currency to like the US dollar or any other country's money. There's a finite amount. It's kind of like when we used to back our money with gold in the US. Like it had a value, right? Like it had a set amount of value depending
Can
on
you
how much
see
gold that
me?
we had. Yeah, I can see
Okay, good. All right, go on.
it. So Bitcoin has a finite amount of value, but from what I can tell, not a lot of people are actually using Bitcoin as a currency. They're not using it for what it was intended to be used for. Like it's an investment vehicle right now because the price keeps going up, and if you put money in, eventually it'll be worth more. But I don't know. It's like if nobody ever uses it, if nobody has I shouldn't say nobody because some people are using Bitcoin to buy things for sure, but it's not widespread. It's more of you're investing in it like a stock that you want to sell someday.
Could I buy clothes with it and toilet paper?
Man, I'm sure you probably could, but yeah, it's not like you can go to Costco and
But
buy
there's
stuff
some
there with a Bitcoin
online
wallet.
store that accepts Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm sure that there is. I've never done it or really come across it, but
I'm old fashioned. I'm just going to stick with dollar bills.
yeah,
Well, I don't even, I say that. I guess I'm not that old fashioned because I never do handle cash.
same.
I
But
never have,
somewhere there's a
I've
dollar
never
assigned
had
to it.
money. I never have money in my wallet anymore, you know?
If I do, it usually stays there for a very long time until I like owe
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
money.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then I'm like, oh,
yeah.
here's your $20.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I code computers. That's why I spend more time coding computers than anything else.
Oh, okay.
And I did this last year I got my first taste of parallel programming. I had this project that it's fitting a statistical model using Markov chain Monte Carlo, which I've done for 25 years, but I've never worked with a data set that was large enough that I needed really a lot of speed. So that with this project I did, so I got to like this stuff like this. I don't say I had to, I say I got to because I really enjoy it. But I got to learn how to get multiple processors to work on the same task at the same time.
And once you get into that stuff, it's way over my head.
You're not a coder.
No, not at all. My ADD dyslexic mind doesn't work that way.
I think I have a little ADD, but you know, I'm pretty sure that this is true. That one feature of ADD for some people is hyper focus, which
Yeah, 100%.
attention deficit disorder. How is hyper focus
Yeah,
a
like
symptom of that?
my wife talks about that all the time because she's like, when you are really focused on something, like that's all you can focus on. Um, like for example, she was asking me the other day what I was going to do for elk hunting season because I was talking about possibly not hunting in Colorado this year. We just had our first kid in October,
Oh,
and
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And so, I've been pretty consumed with that. And then, applying for tags is basically right around the corner. And I was like, I don't think I have enough time between now and when I'd have to apply for a tag to do the research that I would feel comfortable doing to actually put in for something somewhere else. So I'll probably just keep doing what I've been doing here in Colorado because
Oh,
when I get into research mode, I'm like I'd spend hundreds and hundreds of hours researching where I was going to go hunt.
oh, okay. Yeah, see, that that tick that you just described is me, but it applies to my work. I'll sit down and be working on something at my desk for 5 or 6 hours straight. And I'll
You
never
must
think
like what you do.
I do. I do. Yeah. So, and I've for years I've called it ASD, attention
What's that stand for?
attention surplus disorder. Like I have
Yeah,
but
with ADD, they say if you're interested in a topic, you can hyper focus on it. But
ah,
once you lose interest, it can become very hard to focus.
okay. Well, that's I'm on the spectrum a little bit. I've been
Yeah, I
told
think we all are.
I've been told I'm a little spectrumy. Uh, so yeah, yeah, because switching to something I'm interested in to something I'm not, it takes so much.
Yeah, my
Just
motivation for things
mo-
I don't want to do can be
very
close
low.
to zero.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So do you have points built up?
Uh, so I've got points in Colorado, but I
How
don't
long have
have
you
points
lived
anywhere
there?
else. We've lived here for 3.5 years.
Okay, okay,
So I started applying for points the year before I moved here, I guess. 5, 4.
okay.
And I mean, there are some good places to hunt in Colorado, but you need a lot of points for them, as I'm sure you're well aware.
Well, okay, so you have points in Colorado, and where else do you have them?
I used to have points in Wyoming until I put it in my calendar wrong for the deadline. I put the day after you could apply for points in my calendar to apply for them, went to apply for them, couldn't apply for them, and then learned that I lost all of my points because I had not applied for them.
Whoa, yeah. If you don't apply for 1 year, they're gone?
They're gone, and there's nothing they will do about it. And I'm like, so I spent $300 with you guys for points for elk tags, and I want to spend another $100 with you right now, and I can't do that. And they said, nope, you had however long to apply for them, and if you miss a deadline, you miss a deadline. And I said, okay, well, I will not be applying for any points in Wyoming anymore.
Man, zero tolerance policy.
Yeah. That was a big bummer.
Yeah, I think that's pretty typical of fish and game management agencies. They don't. I was talking to this dude. Well, it's a friend of mine a friend of a friend. He got this real cherry tag, and here in Montana, and he fell off of his horse and had to get life flighted out.
On the hunt?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
People are going to get confused now because the podcast I just released, the dude and the guest on that podcast was telling me about his friend falling off a horse and having to get helicoptered out. But this is a different case of it. And he was like, he entreated Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks to reissue him the tag the next year. He's like, I didn't even get to hunt, man. Come on, it's basically a once in a lifetime tag. I didn't even get to hunt because I got hurt. Can you give it to me again? And they're like, nope.
Oh my God.
Which I mean, I guess
if it had happened before the hunt, they probably would have. But I think once the season starts, because I know Colorado will make some exceptions if
okay,
issues.
okay.
But yeah, once that season starts, they consider that you've had the opportunity to hunt.
One time I shot an elk and a bear got it, and he buried it all, and I dug it all up and kept it all. And then I went into Fish Wildlife. Not kept it all. I kept I don't know, man, somewhere between a half and 2/3.
What you could?
Yeah, I just dug it all out of the ground and washed it off, and a crick, and I went into FWP asking if they'd give me another tag, and they're like, "Did you keep any of the meat?" And I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Well, then no."
Never hurts to ask. So what? My question is, if you had not kept the meat,
I don't know that we did. Okay, I think that what they were asking is, was any of it salvageable, and did you salvage it? Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't feel like messing with it. It was a little dirty. I didn't feel like messing with it. I don't know if that would have been an incriminating statement on my part or not.
Yeah, that could have came back to bite you.
Yeah. You moved so where in Michigan are you from?
I lived all over in Michigan. Originally, I'm from St. Agnes, so I'm barely a Youper. At least was born up there. But we moved downstate when I was a kid.
How did you say that?
A Youper?
No, the town.
Oh, St. Ignace?
Oh, we call it Saint Ignatius. That's how we pronounced it.
Oh, really?
Unless I'm thinking of a different town.
Yeah, I think it's pronounced St. Ignace.
Oh.
But yeah, if you've ever driven across the Mackinac Bridge, you've been there. So many people I've talked to, they're like, where the heck is that? They know where Mackinac Island is. They've been across the Mackinac Bridge. And I'm like, well, you've been there if you drove across the Mackinac Bridge.
Yeah, I used to go to school at Lake State.
Oh, okay.
Lake Superior State.
That's up in what's the name of that
Sault
city?
Ste. Marie.
Yeah, Sault Ste.
I mean,
Marie on the Michigan side.
you were born 50 miles from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and
So,
then moved downstate to middle of nowhere town called Coldwater, basically right on the Indiana border.
oh,
And then I lived up by
that
Grand
seems like
Rapids
that
most
seems
recently.
those two moves. Uh, I would have rather stayed up in St. Ign. How you say it?
Ignis. Yeah.
Ignis. What you had to
Uh
move down there for work?
no, I moved down there when I was a kid. My dad moved down there for work. Um
Oh,
so yeah, I mean it's all farm country down there. It's good deer hunting.
if you can get
So
on.
yeah, we were lucky and had really good friends that uh had farmland
Oh,
or
well,
farmers. So
that's sweet. Yeah.
but
How
it's
old
yeah,
were
it's
you when you
very
moved down
competitive.
there?
I think I was 7.
Okay. When I was a
So
young feller, well, okay, so when I was a real young feller, we just fished a lot for around our house. We grew up on these lakes and hunted right around there. But when I got into college, my brothers and I got really into steelhead fishing. And we would start around us and then work our way north and
yeah, that
fish.
consumed a lot of my time
Okay, so you're the
once.
similar.
Yeah, yeah, I think that was really probably after college. I really got into steelhead fishing. Started probably a little bit when I was in college, but that's pretty much all I did for like the last 6 years I lived in Michigan
Oh,
was
that's
steelhead
interesting.
fish.
That's interesting. Wow. When I was 27 years old, I mean I like you, like just I probably caught 20 steelhead a year, something like that, which that means something to you. Probably doesn't mean
Yeah,
anything to people that didn't grow up there. Like that's quite a few. You have to fish a lot. That's not to say anything about my talent. It's just like you have to fish quite a bit to get that many, right?
yep,
And it was in February when I moved to Montana, and 3 days before I moved out, I went out to the White River. Do you know that river?
yep. I fished it. I
Oh, really?
almost sunk my drift boat on it in the middle of February one time.
Hilarious. I went out there, and February's tough for steelhead. It's it's not the best month. By what you're doing is, as you know, catching the few fish that ran up in the fall.
Right.
And I caught a steelhead. I couldn't believe it. And then I've never fished for steelhead since.
No kidding. You've never fished out west
Never.
for steelhead?
Well,
Uh,
you can't here in Montana. You can't. Our cabin, there is a steelhead stream near our, like on Prince of Wales Island where our cabin is in Alaska, but I've never gone there.
hmm.
Once in a
Yeah,
while, we'll get there's a fishing lodge near our cabin. We'll go over there and get carcasses for bait in our pots, and I'll see a steelhead carcass in the bait
yeah. I did some steelhead
or
fishing in Washington.
amongst the stuff they're throwing out. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
What were you saying?
I was just saying I did some steelhead fishing in Washington, like up in the Olympic Peninsula,
Oh,
a few
oh,
years ago. We're living out there during COVID. My wife was doing travel nursing, and that
oh,
was the whole steelhead debate between people in the Midwest and people on the West Coast. And the West Coast say their steelhead are real steelhead, and the ones in Lake Michigan are those are rainbow trout because they never go out to the ocean. And the ones out west are bigger and they fight harder and all this stuff. And I'll just say, like, I really enjoyed my time fishing out there. It's some of the most beautiful country in anywhere I've ever been. Um, I'll tell you what, the steelhead fishing's better in Michigan, and I'm just saying this to piss off a few people.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't. Debates like that confuse me. Um, who gives a shit? You know,
Yeah,
if it's fun to catch one, then who gives a shit about the rest of that?
right.
Like, it's a I think in the philosophy they call it ont. You know anything about philosophy?
I wouldn't say I'm a huge philosopher. I wouldn't say I study philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have studied a little bit. Just it's just kind of an interest of mine, but
Yeah,
like ontology, it's like the study of what truly exists and the nature of existence and differentiation amongst um nouns and objects and things like that. And I don't my ontology thinks like I don't know, they could breed together probably, right? If you put them
well, the
together, they
reality
could.
is Michigan took the steelhead from the West Coast and they put them in the Great Lakes, so they are the same fish,
It, it's right. Like it's like who gives a shit? You know?
right?
I mean, oh, it doesn't go out into an ocean, so it's not a steelhead. Okay, here's one way of putting. I'm just struggling with how to sit to articulate why this is troubling to me. Like that debate, which I was unaware of, uh, is that I don't I'm not really impressed by knowledge that doesn't have a conceivable actionable component to it.
Right.
You know, like are you really going to do anything different depending on the answer? You know?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it
Um
just stems from the competitive nature of
yeah.
fishing and feeling like one group is better than another group. Um, but I don't know, based off everything I heard, and I honestly assumed was the truth, is that West Coast steelhead are bigger, they fight harder, uh, they're harder to catch, and I didn't really find that to be true. I thought they were kind of worn out because they have to go up these crazy rapid rivers and they're tired once they get up there. In Michigan,
Uh
they kind of just go up these meandering rivers and they have, in my experience, the ones that I've caught in Michigan have a lot more fight. But it probably depends, right? If you get one that's fresh out of the ocean and you're 5 miles up the Columbia or something, that I think probably fights like crazy.
yeah. Don't the ones on the West Coast don't yeah, in their native range, don't they bite on dry flies?
I mean, I would assume that they would, especially like the summer run steelhead or the Skamania, if you want to call them that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I mean, I've literally watched steelhead hit my float as I was reeling it in before. So if there was
Yeah.
a hook in it, you could say you could catch them on a float.
When I was a kid, that was what I heard repeatedly was that in their native range, you can catch them on a dry fly. But
I've never seen people doing that much, but
mm-hmm. Yeah, I
I've
never.
also never
Yeah,
fished out there in the summer when they're probably more keyed into bugs and things like that. Like I was out there in the middle of winter, it was snowing.
okay. Did you fish the carp when you lived in Michigan?
Which one?
Oh, there's multiple.
I think there's three. Yeah, so I mean I've fished the Carp River up by St. Agnes where I'm from quite a bit.
That's
Uh
just north of the bridge, right?
yep. Yep.
And and you fish it like it's if I recall, it's you fish uh west of the interstate. Is it right? Is that right?
The Carp River is east It
East of the
flows into
interstate?
Lake like if you're going over the bridge, you'd take a right on US 2 and you'd head out of town, which would mean you're like east of where the bridge is, if that's where
Oh,
you're talking.
okay.
But there might even be two carp rivers in the UP, but I know there's one on the east side of the Lower Peninsula, the northern part.
How does a river get named after a fish that's not even really from there and doesn't even go in there? Like, I never saw a carp in the carp.
I'm sure that they're in there in the summer. But my question is, how long has it been named the Carp River? And were there carp in there? I don't know. I guess carp probably came to the US in like the 1800s. So,
Yeah, I would think you're right about that. Do you know that the common carp was introduced as on purpose as a food fish?
yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
ever
And
eat? Do you ever eat them?
I never really did. I have eaten it, but like I never caught a carp and took it home and cleaned it and ate it.
Mm-hmm. They can be pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's like anything if you cook it right.
Yeah.
We used to spear a ton of carp, and we knew a guy that canned them, and
Oh,
we would bring him a boatload of carp, and he would do a huge batch of canned carp.
was he African American?
No, he was an Asian guy.
Okay. Did you know that there's more Asians that per capita, there's more Asians that participate in hunting and fishing than any other nat that's a national ethnicity in the U.S.
Hmm. That is interesting. No, I did not know that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's cool. That was a trip down memory lane. I always wonder what happened to the steelhead fishing. If it was still like it was. Oh, let's
It,
linger on it for just a minute longer. So when's the
yeah.
last year you fished the white?
Oh, it was before I moved away from Michigan, so probably 5 years ago.
And you can still go there and fish for steelhead and see them on the beds and
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I never had very good luck in the white, but I
oh,
know people that did.
uh-huh.
But you know how steelhead fishing goes. It can be great one day and the next day, nothing.
It's fickle. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as far as the fishing, it goes up and down. You know, there's some years where there's a ton of fish and then some years where there aren't.
Mm.
I still go back and steelhead fish every year with a
Oh,
bunch
do
of
you
buddies. We do
really?
a trip.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Got
awesome.
got one coming up in April or the end of March.
Oh, that's awesome. That good for you. That's great. Oh
Yeah,
man,
it's a highlight of the year.
I want to do that sometime. I'm going to go with you guys. I'm just going to
You
invite
should.
myself.
You should.
I think I might
It's
retire in a couple years, in which case I would definitely go do that. How about smelt dipping?
We did a little bit of that as a kid on the carp, and then the smelt kind of disappeared, and they were gone for a long time, and now they've kind of come back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Man, where I grew up in Muskegon, you spent some time around Grand Rapids, so you know where Muskegon is.
Hmm.
You know, the smelt dipping was fantastic there. And now they're extinct.
They'll be back in 10 years or so, I would guess.
You
Because
think
they're not,
so?
yeah, they're not gone. Like they just, I don't know, they go through waves in their population, and some years the salmon numbers are super high and they eat them all, or the lake trout. I don't
This
know.
was
It's all
like, they
cyclical.
haven't been there for 25 years.
Really.
My my friend's dad, one of my best friend's dads, George Drost, he he was, well, we all were pretty diehard, but he particularly so. When they crashed, he kept going and going every year. He believed that, do you know what like a bio indicator is?
Yeah.
So, like, he believed that daffodils were a bioindicator
Or smelt.
for smell. And when the daffodils were in bloom, that was the time. And he went down and held vigil for the smelt for a decade after people stopped catching smelt.
Did he ever get any?
No. Wouldn't it be so, like, wouldn't that be so interesting if like it became so, like, the memory of it became so vague that they rebounded in that area and nobody knew for years.
I could see that happening.
Oh, that's such an interesting idea.
Yeah, like for all we know, last year was an epic smelt run in Muskegon. But
Right,
nobody was
No.
there to
Well, hey,
net any.
Landon, I am telling you, if it was, nobody would have been there.
No. It would take some people, snagging a couple on accident, realizing they're there, and caring about that they're there enough to then go try to dip some smelt.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. People cared back in the day. That's for sure. I mean, there'd be a lot of people. How did you do it? Did you do it with those square nets that you lay on the bottom and wait till they came over the net? Or did you do it with the scoop nets?
I mean, I was a really little kid when we were doing it. So I just had like a little kid net, and other people were using big nets. I wasn't really getting any. I was just playing in the water.
But what were they doing? Did they have the net where you scoop? Or
I feel like they were the
square net on the bottom? Were they on a
you
pier?
lift them up.
Were they on a pier?
No, this is like on the riverbanks.
Oh, then they had the scoop nets. Yeah. Man, they're so good.
They are.
They're so
tasty.
good. I think they taste a little bit like clams. I still get them once in a while because that guy I was just telling you about, his son, one of my best friends, goes up to the UP somewhere and dips them in Lake Superior.
So I was talking to my mom, who still lives downstate, and she was telling me about somebody she knew that was going smelt dipping on a river that was like an inland river. It's not connected to Lake Michigan. And I said, there's no smelt in there. Like the smelt migrate out to the Great Lakes and they come back. And she's like, I don't know. They said that they were dipping smelt in there, and they sent me pictures, and I was like, okay, that does look like a smelt, but this was not in a place you would ever expect it. Like,
That,
living in an inland lake,
I know. I've heard around Traverse City.
See, and this was like downstate, like down. Like Branch or Hillsdale County or something like that.
Oh, and they live in that lake somewhere, and they go up some little creek and spawn.
Yep.
Man, they're such a cool fish. They're such a cool
interesting
fish. Do you know what a hooligan is?
I don't know if I know what a hooligan is.
It's a different. It's a smelt. It's another kind of. It's another species of smelt. And people, you can dip them in Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, and my brother dips them around Anchorage, and they eat a few, but they don't eat a lot because they're real super oily. Like you can get enough of them real quick, like
canned sardines.
Yeah, but he heads and guts them, and does he have? No. He freezes them whole. He freezes them whole, and then brings them to our cabin, and we use them for fishing for bait there for halibut and salmon. Yeah, but
that's on my bucket list is to go catch some halibut. That stuff's so good.
It is.
It might be my favorite fish.
The head
The head might be my favorite.
I don't know if I've had the head.
Yeah, I've become more and more of a head man when it comes to fish. Like,
I haven't eaten too many fish heads, to be honest. Certain fish, I'll like cut the cheek meat out of it, like
mm,
walleye. They've got
mm-hmm,
that little pocket of cheek meat if you get a decent size one.
yeah, yeah. If you get a big halibut, well, okay. So I guess every halibut I catch now, I keep the collars out of, the lower jaw, and it's just it's an how you say that word, incontrovertible fact that the collar meat is better than the fillet meat.
Hmm.
It's real oily, moist, more complex flavor. Uh, and then last year I took some halibut heads and I cut them in half, like the long way, like so it's like halibut head on the half shell,
Yeah.
and then grilled them. And then there's all those little pockets of meat here and there in the head, and you just pick those out and eat them. I freaking love fish head soup.
I've never had it.
Yeah, all this stuff we're talking about is better. I mean, I don't know. I've never done any of that with freshwater fish. I think the nice thing about saltwater fish is that the bones are so big, you know?
Right. Yeah, you don't get those little pin bones that hide in the
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah. So, yeah, whereas I like halibut, it's not my favorite fish because it's just a little bland for me, except for like I say, the head meat, the collars and stuff. I like halibut just fine. Don't get me wrong, but it's just a little bland for my liking. My favorite fish are perch and bluegill.
I would say bluegill's probably my favorite. I think
Oh,
it's the it's the best like happy medium between like a strong fish and I'll eat, any kind of fish, salmon and whatever, but bluegill I think has enough fish flavor to actually make it good.
mm-hmm.
Whereas like walleye, like everyone likes it because it really doesn't taste like fish that much.
That's why everybody likes halibut, in my
I like
view.
I think the texture of halibut is much better than like walleye.
Okay.
I do
Okay.
agree they don't have a lot of fish flavor, but it's a good textured meat.
Have you found places to fish for bluegills in Colorado?
Sadly, I don't fish much anymore. I mean, I went
Oh,
from fishing like 3 to maybe in steelhead season 5 days a week.
damn.
Colorado's Colorado is a great state in terms of the amount of opportunity here. Like you can hunt almost every big game species here. You can fish for almost every freshwater species here. Uh, Upland birds, we have a majority of the more popular species and some of them that aren't so popular here in Colorado. But I wouldn't say Colorado is a great place to hunt and fish for any one thing.
I met this gal. A few years ago that is a fishing guide there. She takes people out ice fishing for lake trout.
Yeah, that's a big deal out here.
Have you ever eaten
And
a smoked lake trout?
yeah,
Oh,
I didn't usually smoke them, but I cleaned them, and I like lake trout. I
oh
think it's
my
good.
God. I
You
think
just
that
can't put it in the freezer and leave it there for 3 months and then cook it.
Oh, okay, good
You
to
got to get
know.
all that
Good to
that
know.
fat off. Like everybody always calls them like greasers and says they're nasty, but if you just get that fat off there and cook them when they're fresh, like they're good fish.
I would way rather eat a smoked lake trout than a smoked salmon.
I like both.
I would trade. I like the fat on the lake trout.
Yeah.
So okay, back to the tags. So what are you going to do? Are you going to put in for something in Colorado, or are you just going to hunt over the counter?
Well, if I put in for something, I'd probably do a rifle hunt because I've been bow hunting elk long enough to know that you could have the best unit out there and still waste all your points and come home with no meat.
Yeah.
I don't know. My brother was also talking about coming out for his first hunt out west. So there's like part of me that's like, do we try to go do something where we can actually kill an elk, or for the first year, do we just kind of get your feet wet and come out and have a good time in the mountains and likely not kill anything?
Have you killed an elk in Colorado?
One.
Oh,
Yeah, I've
good.
killed one in 6 years of hunting out here.
Oh, you've only lived there for 3 years, though.
Yeah, I've been hunting out here since before I moved to Colorado. And in fact, the last year that I hunted out here that I lived in Michigan was during COVID. And I said I would never, ever hunt in the state ever again because there were so many people everywhere
That
you went to
was
hunt.
shortly before they did away with over-the-counter archery tags, right?
It was a few years. I think last year was the first year they did away with that for out-of-state hunters. They're still
Okay.
over the counter.
That's what I meant. Was over-the-counter non-resident tags. Yeah.
Yeah.
That blows me away
places,
that lasted as long as it did.
Yeah, they've been slowly, even since I've been hunting out here, they've been slowly taking the OTC units. And in fact, where I've been hunting isn't OTC anymore. It is now a draw unit, but it's not very desirable. So I always put in on secondary draw and have gotten it every time. But it went from, there was 300 tags left for the second draw to 200 to last year they sold out on the secondary draw.
Oh, wow.
So in a way, I think there's more people hunting there now than there was when it was OTC.
Oh. I go there once in a while. I was there for a family reunion about 4 or 5 years ago, and just driving around in the mountains, it seems like you could get away from people no problem. It just looks huge to me.
Yeah, and sadly it isn't the case. The first few years I hunted out here, it was like, all right, we're gonna hike way back in and get away from everybody. And that everybody else kind of thinks the same thing. In fact, the last few years I've been hunting in units that you can take four-wheelers in. And
because it lowers the mystique. It reduces the mystique so that
well, I don't know, but I think those hunters tend to be a little bit lazier.
that seems,
even though there probably is more people there, they're not covering as much ground, and they're not, pushing the elk around as much. Because, early in the season, elk are kind of like white-tailed deer. They have their thing that they like to do. And then later, as they've been pushed around, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, and the elk don't know where they're going to be the next day either. So how do you know where they're going to be?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough out here in general, no matter where you go, unless you've got a draw unit that's really limited and, you burn 7 points on it. It's very challenging to hunt out here.
If you get a cherry tag, it's probably still pretty damn good hunting.
Yeah. There's some great places, but a lot of them, you're talking like 15 points. I'll never have that unless, one of the things that they're talking about doing is going to a full draw, which I hated the idea of at first, because for me, part of hunting is calling my buddy and saying, hey, you want to go hunting this weekend? And we pick somewhere and we go hunt together. And you could do that with OTC, and you could hunt all over the state. And if they go to everything's a draw, then I have to call you a year in advance and say, hey, do you want to go hunting? And we have to have this big plan. It can no longer be like, let's just go hunting together for 2-3 days.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side of that, if everybody has to use points to go hunting, it would fix the problem of needing 15 points to get into a unit.
How so? Explain that to me now.
Because let's say you want to go hunt in any unit, and it's you need 2 points to draw that unit. It doesn't matter if you have 2 points or 5 points. If you put in, it uses all of your points to draw that unit.
Okay. So with this, what did you call it? Any draw?
I don't know what I said, but there's talk of making every single unit a draw unit for in-state or out-of-state. And it's been a little
so
while
there'd be
since I've
no
looked
like
at this.
point accumulation anymore.
Well, there would be. You could
You
still
just opt
accumulate
not
points.
to, but by doing that, you're opting not to hunt.
Correct. And I mean, for someone like me, I'd rather go into a unit that's not good every single year than wait 15 years to go elk hunting again. And there would probably always be those, those units that still were a ton of points, but I think it would take a lot of them that were, maybe 7-8 points and bring it down to a 3-point unit.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Maybe I'm just being hopeful.
That's interesting. That's just super interesting. It's like I can either hunt every year,
have a crappy experience.
Well, yeah, but it'll be less crappy because there'll be people that go, I'm not going to hunt every year.
That's true too.
Right? Am I right? See, if they went, okay, whatever spot you've been hunting the last few years, I would think that if they went to everything's a draw, thereby everyone you lose your points if you hunt there, you'd have less pressure at that spot.
Yeah, well, you'd still have your secondary draw, I would assume, like they do now. And and that doesn't burn your points.
Oh, okay.
So
I think they should have it so you burn all your points, no matter what.
I think that would, man, it'd really suck for the people that do have 15 points. But I don't know. They've got to do something to fix it because it's not just Colorado's kind of the last state to really try to figure out how they're going to address this issue, but there's not a clean way to do it anywhere. There's more people that want to hunt out here than there are places to hunt and elk to hunt.
Yeah.
Because you look at the numbers in Colorado and it's like we have the largest elk herd in the country, but I don't know. I could be getting this wrong, but I think it's like 250,000 elk.
I know that there's the most there. I don't really know what the number was. But
I could be wrong, but I think the number of people that just bow hunt in Colorado each year is higher than the actual population is.
Whoa. Say that again. So more people bow hunt for elk than live in the state?
No, not that live in the state. Than elk though. So if there's 250,000 elk,
that's interesting. There's more elk hunters than elk.
Yeah, let me just Google this. See, this is where we need a
let me hit the pause.
Okay.
We do this all. Okay, we got our shit square. So lay it out, Landon.
Okay, so I was a little off on the numbers, but according to quick Google searching, there's about 290 to 300,000 elk in the state of Colorado. It's not, so there were about 40 to 50,000 people that bow hunt elk, but in total, there's about 220,000 elk hunters that hunt elk in Colorado each
That's
year.
Wild. So arguably, almost as many elk hunters as elk.
Yeah, and when I looked this up the first time, I want to say it was like 5 years ago. So,
What's the
it
success?
might have been.
What's the success rate?
I know for archery, on average, it's like 7 to 8%
I wonder what
statewide.
it. I bet it's the same for rifle.
I think rifle's a little bit
Little
higher.
higher.
I would guess like 15%. Totally depends on the unit. Some are pretty quite high.
Okay. So that seems about how many? There's 290 thousand elk.
Yep.
And let's just say that if you average the rifle and the bow, like maybe it comes out to 10%. So that's 29,000 or 29,000 that get killed every year, something like that. That's
Yeah.
seems
So this
about
says
right.
overall hunter success rate in Colorado is approximately 19%.
Oh, wow. That's pretty freaking high.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think a lot of the rifle units are closer to that 20.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, there are episodes where we never do anything like hunting culture related. Very few. I'd say very few. We always touch on it a little bit because, I mean, this podcast, it needs to try to be entertaining to some extent, you know. Hopefully people liked hearing about steelhead and are enjoying hearing about this stuff with the elk and everything.
Yeah.
But it's a balancing act because it's a balancing act because if it's not at all entertaining, then no one's going to listen.
Yeah. 100%.
But at the end of the day, it's trying to achieve something, you know, because I just believe, and I know you know this, but that I just believe that we need a cultural reset when it comes to hunting.
Yeah. And I mean, I 100% agree. And I mean, even fishing for that matter, but
Yeah. I would agree with that.
hunting, it is a bigger issue.
So would you mind, because people know about my journey and my beliefs. Would you mind laying out your journey a little bit, like you did when we first communicated, and so
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
can understand your arc a little bit,
Yeah, for
like how
sure.
you
So,
where you started out, what you used to think, what you think now, that sort of thing.
yeah, I can do that. So, like most people that are into hunting or fishing, I got into it at a very young age because
Was
that's
your
the thing
dad a
my
hunter
family
or
did.
your mom?
Yeah, my dad's a hunter. He fishes. And so were, my grandparents, my
Oh,
uncles. And so I was always around it. It was just a part of life, right? Like it was always something I was going to do and be a part of. Um, so I was born in '89. So I really throughout my life kind of saw the whole arc of like, people went from reading magazines, which I have an interesting side topic on that, but uh reading magazines to then, the outdoor channel.
well, go ahead. We'll forget if you don't do your tangent now.
Yeah, it just this always makes me think about a conversation I had with my uncle Dan. He was a huge and still is a big hunter, but like when he was young, man, he was really getting after it. He was like a big time bow hunter, well before bow hunting really got popular, back when it was a really small group of people that were doing it. And it was actually at my wedding, he and I were talking about elk hunting out west. And he's like, yeah, I used to go out to Colorado every year and kill an elk with my bow. And he's like, I know it's changed, but there was just so much land and stuff out there. We never ran into anybody. Well, after I went on my first elk hunt and we talked about it again, he's like, that's just crazy that everywhere you went, you saw hunters. He's like, I just don't really remember running into hunters when I hunted out there. And he's like, we would bugle in elk every day. And, sometimes we wouldn't shoot them because they were really young ones. He's like, so we never shot, well, actually, he did shoot some pretty nice ones, but he's like, we didn't always shoot monsters, but, we kind of got to pick. And I'm like, yeah, that is not the scenario anymore. Like now, if you get a legal elk within bow range, you kill it. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get one for the year. Hunting on public land, at least, in OTC units or low draw units.
And that's what he was doing as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, and it was funny because he blamed it on the magazines. He's like, after the magazines, he's like, there was always some hunting magazines, but
Wow,
then all
that's
of a sudden
interesting.
there was so many magazines, and it got everybody into it, and everything just changed.
That makes
And
sense because more people read magazines when there was only magazines.
right, yeah, but in his mind, that was the issue, right? So this conversation that we're having and that you've been having and focusing on is like, this isn't a new thing. It's just gotten so much worse,
Mm-hmm.
because now everybody has a voice and everything is published. And it really has changed what hunting's about. Um, like, don't get me wrong. I always wanted to go kill a big whitetail buck every time I went out. That
Oh,
was, what
I
I
want,
wanted to
yeah,
do.
same, still,
But,
yeah.
but it was more of just a cultural thing. And if we didn't get a big buck, then, we'll shoot a doe and put that in the freezer and go out and hunt the next day.
Yeah, I think you're probably the same, but to me, it's like way up, way up there is getting a big one, and
Oh
then
yeah,
and only a little bit below that is getting anything, and then way down below that is getting nothing.
yeah. I don't like getting nothing. It's hard for me.
That's a double negative, though, really,
And don't
right?
get me wrong, I
Getting
love going and getting nothing. Yeah, that is.
well, no, it's not. No, it works. Getting nothing. Yeah. What
Uh,
did you get? Nothing. Okay. So anyway,
and yeah, it's just different now. Like I said, I was fortunate to have and still have friends that own property in Michigan, and I most years still go back and deer hunt opening day with my dad and my brother.
oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But a
Yeah.
lot of
So
people
you
I
go
know
back
pay
for
thousands of
steelhead
dollars.
and you go back for deer.
Yeah, I mean, I got to get my fix of Michigan. I absolutely love Michigan, the Midwest in general.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
It's just so full of life and opportunity. Now, yeah, sure, you don't have as many opportunities to hunt as many species as you do in Colorado. But I'll tell you what, if you hunt on farmland in southern Michigan and you hunt for a few days during gun season and you
You're
don't
gonna
get a
get
deer,
something. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
And
don't get a
if you go
deer.
there in the
It's
spring, you're gonna get a turkey too.
yeah. So back to like my story arc, I guess, if you want to call it that. Always loved hunting and fishing. Always wanted, if possible, would have loved to just do something in that world for a job, right? Because everybody wants to work and do something they love every single
Mm-hmm.
day.
Yep.
But the reality is there's not a ton of jobs out there um, that you could actually do and make a good living at in that industry. Um, I guess I could have went to be a biologist and worked out in the field, and yeah, I would have really enjoyed that. But I probably never would have paid my student loans off either, because that's a competitive market. Uh, so in my adult life after college, I got very involved in social media, and for a while, me and my cousin were running like basically like a t-shirt and hat company where we were selling t-shirts and hats. And that was fun, and we were starting to make a little bit of money. Not
What did they
I would
say?
all kinds of different stuff, just cool designs. Um
Hunting related though.
yeah, yep. And the whole point of this company it was called Lifestyle Lost, and it was kind of in the meaning of the name was like the hunting and lifestyle that we have lost. And the point of this was to try to like nurture that and bring it back and get people introduced into the outdoors, because it's something that I loved and held dear, and it's like it like it's almost a religious thing to me.
What
And
made
like I
you
look
feel
at
like what made you feel like it was lost?
because I just knew so many people that didn't hunt or fish.
I see. Yeah.
Because I mean, we're still the minority, right? Hunters in general
Right.
are
There
the
was a
minority of the
time where
population.
there was a time where we all did. Where
Right.
100% of human
Yep.
beings hunted, fished, or foraged.
Right. You were doing something outdoors. And, that's what rejuvenates me, is spending time in the outdoors. And I just looked at society and said, I think a lot of society's problems is that we sit inside and stare at TVs all day, and we don't get out in the outdoors, and we don't build these relationships with people like I did with my friends hunting and fishing, right? Like my closest friends, a lot of them, there's some component of hunting and fishing. All of my closest friends growing up, I mean, that's what we did. We went fishing together all summer and hunted and stuff like that. So this idea was like, trying to promote that and get more people into hunting, because I felt that it was a good thing for the general population. And I don't think that that logic is necessarily wrong until you really well, let's go back to uh where my mind really changed, because I've always been a stickler when it comes to like fishing spots or sharing information well before the internet was a thing. That was part of being a good fisherman, is you keep your mouth shut and you don't talk about that kind of stuff. Like if you got a really good steelhead fishing hole, maybe two of your closest friends know about that. You're not bringing, Tom's cousin and his brother out to your favorite spot. Those are sacred and hard to find. Um, so I've always been there was kind of two sides of me, I guess, right? There's the side that was like everyone should do this, but then the other part of me that's like just don't do it where I'm doing it,
Yeah, right.
which is
Right.
hypocritical. And then
That's and then when you bring them in, there's a very good chance that they're going to do it where somebody else is doing it.
yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You
that's
didn't
like
ask them.
just because it's your secret spot doesn't mean nobody else knows about it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Somebody else knows about it. And so I felt more strongly, about that, or had that selfish side of me with hunting. And even though I probably did more fishing than hunting, that was something that I felt was like a little more accessible. There was more room for more people. Um, so then I decided I wanted to start a podcast, and I started a fishing podcast. That was called The Fishing Podcast. And it was so much fun, and I really, really enjoyed doing it. Uh,
What would you guys talk about?
all kind, anything fishing. I mean, I talked to, you know, people that went on trips down in South America or guided down there, or Alaska, a lot of local people from Michigan. And it was really cool. It was a lot of fun and met a lot of people. And it was, and I still felt, I don't know, like there's just so much tension in that industry. Like you've always got somebody, like I'll talk about fishing on the Muskegon River or something like that, and then someone's mad at you because you shouldn't talk about the Muskegon River. It's like it's one of the I think it's the longest river in the state of Michigan, if I remember correctly. Like I'm not like talking about some secret trout stream somewhere. Uh, so I was getting a little bit like just annoyed with how people were in the industry, and it seemed to be competitive. I
Well,
mean, it is
these
competitive. It
people
doesn't seem to be
aren't
competitive.
probably okay. Let me help me understand. The people that would be upset that you named a waterway weren't in the industry, right? They're probably just sportsmen.
Yeah, sure. But then there's a part of me that did feel like a little bit guilty about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
And maybe making this podcast is just a selfish thing. And I wasn't trying to make any money from it. Like I didn't have sponsors. I didn't try to get sponsors. Like I really just wanted to have a podcast and talk about fishing. And if it took off someday and like I had enough listeners that I could have made a lot of money, sure, I'm sure I would have monetized it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in maybe it would have and maybe it wouldn't, but it was growing. Like I don't know. The last time I had checked it, there was like 50,000 downloads. I have no idea if that's a lot or not. Um, and
50,000 per episode?
no, not per episode, like total. So I don't know how many
Okay.
episodes I
50
even had. Maybe.
50,000 unique downloaders.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
So
years
then
were
it's
you
also on
what
YouTube.
years were you doing this?
Oh man, it would have been like probably 2018, 2019.
Okay. You were on the podcast Vanguard.
Yeah. It Yeah, it was a good time to start a podcast, and there was a lot of like fly fishing podcasts, which I like to fly
Oh,
fish, but I'm not a fly fishing purist, and I don't want to just talk about that all the time. Um, but back to that hunt that I did in 2020 in Colorado, and I came out here, and there were hunters everywhere. That was really a pivotal moment for me. And even though that was an anomaly, and we may never see that happen again.
oh, you haven't seen it since?
Well, no, there's still a ton of people out here, but it's never been that bad.
That bad. Okay. Were you camped out in the back country?
Yeah. I mean,
How
we
far from a
hiked in.
trailhead?
I mean, we did a brutal hike up and over a mountain that was fairly short. I want to say it's like 3.5, 4 miles, but
But
it's a very
tough.
hard hike.
Yeah,
The easier way to get in there is to hike like 8 miles down a trail.
I see.
And then, we went in further from kind of where we started hunting. And there's a ton of people back there. And then we went and checked some other OTC units. And I mean, every trailhead is so full with trucks you can't park at it. And then there's a truck every mile down every road if it's public land.
Mm.
So then everywhere you go, there was just people walking around everywhere in the woods. And I started asking myself, okay, uh, is this promoting people getting into hunting and fishing a good thing? If it takes away from what I love to do to a point where I don't want to do it anymore, is that benefiting anybody at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And I
yeah.
don't think it is, because like with the first company, if you want to call it that, where you're selling hats and t-shirts, Lifestyle Lost, kind of the point of that was to get more people into hunting and fishing and share something that I loved with other people so that they could share in it and love it as well, and have a better life because of it. But if nobody gets to go have a positive hunting experience, then we all lose. Uh and I was also
Very well said. Yeah. Very, very well articulated in my opinion. Yeah. Obviously I couldn't agree more.
it's like a kind of like a lose-lose situation for society. You can either all
Well,
get into
okay.
hunting and fishing, and then nobody enjoys it, or a lot of people don't get into it and they're missing out too.
Well, I that's where I don't. Okay, I don't. I think that people are really highly malleable, and I I think that they. I mean, everyone's like this. You're exposed to something and it grabs you, and you go do that thing, and uh, if you find it enjoyable, if you're gratified by this thing that you found, then you devote your energy to it. Like right now, I have I built a curing chamber, and it occupies a lot of my thoughts and energy.
like doing these cured meat projects. So, and when people watch Top Gun, they got really into aeronautics, and a lot of people bought aviator glasses, and they thought that was cool. Like, people are just, they get into things that they're exposed to and they find interesting.
Yeah. Well,
So
everybody needs
I just don't buy that communing with nature is, you could have that, it's a prerequisite to having a fulfilled life. I just typed
I guess
in
I think
I just
it
typed
is
in
because
famous historical people that never left cities. The first one that pops up, I was already aware of, Immanuel Kant. He's an extremely important Prussian philosopher, never left Königsberg, famously. Emily Dickinson, the poet. Francis Bacon, another philosopher, hugely important in developing the scientific method. Then Johannes Werner, painter, Anton Bruckner, composer, and on and on and on. I just don't see that it's necessary to bring people to advertise communing with the natural world, because I don't think it's necessary. Like, there's there is some clinical evidence that getting outside is beneficial, but I don't know if you have to be in the backcountry, like how beneficial health wise and from a mental health and a physical health perspective. Like, but I just do not believe that everybody has to be a backcountry hunter to be happy. And if that,
you're right.
and thank God that's the case, because if it was a prerequisite to being mentally and physically healthy, then it would be, nobody would get to do it. Yeah, nobody would do it. There would be no such thing. It's no longer the backcountry if there's a guy behind or gal behind every tree.
And that's how I was feeling elk hunting in 2022.
Yeah.
Or
You then just brought the city to the woods.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And then when you look at how much of when 99% of the people that are trying to increase participation are in some way getting financially compensated for doing so, it just, the whole thing kind of erodes,
right?
So anyway,
yeah, I mean, honestly, I still struggle with what I believe about the whole hunting media industry. And what I mean by that is I see what it's done to the industry, and that's obvious.
Well, okay.
It's a negative
I would
thing.
say
However,
it's done it to hunters, not to the industry. I think of hunters and the industry as separate. Would you agree with that?
Well, I'm speaking specifically about the hunting industry itself.
Okay, lay that out for me.
And how that's affected hunters.
Oh, okay. All right. Carry on.
And it's been, in my opinion, a very negative impact for the general population of hunters. It's harder to find places to hunt. It's more competitive than ever. You look at Michigan, and like almost everything's leased up there now. Like, if you don't have a good friend that lets you hunt on their property, like, you're going to pay a lot of money to go hunting. And then Michigan's got this huge overpopulation problem with deer. They're literally paying people to, like, sharpshooters to go kill them because everybody out there wants to shoot a big buck and they don't want to shoot does. And I shouldn't say everybody, because I know a lot of people that stack up some does every year. But in general, if everybody just went out to hunt to put meat in the freezer and that was the first priority, there would be a lot less deer in Michigan.
Mm.
So it's just changed, I think, why people do it, and then the access to be able to do it. And like all the studies show that access is what keeps people from getting into hunting or continuing to hunt. A lot of people say the reason they got out of hunting is they didn't have anywhere to hunt anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So
I spent a lot of time looking at that survey data.
yeah, and I spent a few years on the board for BHA in Michigan, and they still do, in my opinion, they do a lot of good things. The mission's in the right place, but that also some of what they're doing is contradicting, I don't know, what I think should be happening in the industry, because I consider them part of the industry, the hunting industry.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate in my mind that they're part of the industry.
Right.
They're supposed their stakeholder group should be the hunters. But what serves the industry is not necessarily what serves hunters.
Yeah, you're saying the hunting industry and hunters are two separate entities.
Oh,
like, those
my
are not
God. I can't think. Those are not even remotely related to one another in my mind.
Whereas I think the hunting industry views hunters as part of what they are, right? Like that is their demographic. It's their ideal customer profile.
Well, but yeah, it just, to me, it seems like with these nonprofits like BHA, to a large extent, their stakeholder group is the hunting industry, not the hunting community.
Well,
you know?
and like I will say this again. I think that BHA is doing good things.
I would agree with that too. But so did Jeffrey Epstein and Harvey Weinstein and Bernie Madoff. But like when you take 20 cents on the dollar and do something good with it, but use the other 80 cents for advertising and salaries in R3, I kind of lose the thread.
Yeah. And I was kind of the R3 guy on the board in Michigan.
Yes, it sounds like
I believe that it's,
and I don't begrudge you that at all. I mean, you're just like me. You're fumbling through this life trying to figure out what. But I've come down on the side of any minute that could be spent on R3 could be spent on conservation and access.
100%.
I'm a build a bigger pie kind of person, build it and they will come,
Yeah. And that's the boat that I fall into now, but it's really easy to get caught up in the narrative of all of this hunting and fishing media is promoting it. So then we have more hunters. So then we have a louder voice. And then
we also have a lot more controversial shit on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, that's true. That's something you talked about. So I actually stopped listening to your podcast because I didn't want to go into this after we decided that I'd come on, like having my opinion be changed too much.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
Like I wanted it to be like, this is what I think.
This is where you're obviously a thinker. Like you're a pretty introspective fellow. Like you did a lot of hand wringing about your podcast. And a lot of people don't have that tick where they think about the consequences of their action. And this is another example where you're like, I'm not going to let this guy, his ideas get under my skin before we talk. And I appreciate that. That's good.
Yeah. Well, and I think largely you and I probably agree on most things in this, around this whole topic. But one of the episodes I did listen to was the one with Randy Newberg, and Randy's always somebody that is in the industry that I have looked up to and I think he's an amazing guy, and I think his heart's in the right place. But I struggle with that same back and forth a little bit of like, if we don't have a voice, what could happen? And this is going to sound just very, I don't know, depressing, but I have come to believe that at some point hunting will go away. I don't think it is a matter of, do we have enough hunters that are willing to call their appointed officials and make sure hunting will always be around. And I'm not saying this happens in our lifetime. It might not happen in 200 years, but I just think with the direction that society is going and where most people fall on the side of the line they decide to be on, is I think someday hunting will go away.
Well, yeah, which isn't to say too much, because the planet's going to suffer the heat death at some point too.
Yeah.
I
Well,
guess
then it'll be covered with snow again at some point
you
as
could
well.
put a little bit of meat. I just meant when the sun burns out. You could put
Sure. Yeah. Like,
you
that's inevitable. We know that will
yeah,
happen at
right.
some point.
You could put a little more. You could flesh it out a little bit more by saying when you think that would be.
Yeah. I could.
I could live with it. I could live with it going away someday if it went away because, I don't know, habitats got too fragmented and just too much development, too much environmental degradation. And we just have to, like, there's just not a place for hunting anymore because wildlife populations are too beleaguered by human development. I mean, then at that point it makes sense to me. But in the
Yeah.
meantime, I just hate that people that are drawn to this activity are, in my mind, being so fucked by commercial interests.
Yeah. Well, we're all a product of our own environment, right? And if your environment is watching YouTube videos of people elk hunting and that's how they do it, then that's how you need to do it too. And then that's just what unfolds, is everybody trying to be like what they saw on YouTube, where I've watched a fair amount of YouTube hunting videos about elk. Like we were talking about earlier, when I go into like research mode, like, I consume all content I can find to educate myself about a specific topic. Um, and
Oh man, I don't watch any of it, and I never have.
I don't anymore. Like, I've made a point to not watch it.
Well, yeah, but I don't. Okay, when I'm saying that to you, Landon, what I'm saying is, if it's really that helpful, then I could be a way better hunter if I watched it.
Well, I don't think it is that helpful, to be honest, because most of what I thought I had learned from these videos, I don't do those things in highly pressured areas in Colorado with a bunch of other hunters around. I mean, I've bugled in more hunters than I have elk by far, like probably
Yeah.
5-1.
There's just I will tell you this from firsthand experience, that there is a lot of bullshit in those videos.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, they will lie to you. All of them lie.
And I had realized that, like, the Outdoor Channel, right? Like, by the time I was a young teenager, I had realized that it was all bullshit to sell you products, and I had quit watching any form of hunting videos because I just thought they were dumb, and like, I don't need to see people kill animals on TV for me to be a better hunter, and it really doesn't help me at all. But when I started getting into new things like hunting out west, That's not like sitting in a tree stand in Michigan. It's very, very different.
Yeah, I could see where you'd learn some of the basics. Like you walk around, you got to have good binoculars, get up high, look around. Yes, I could see where you'd pick up some of the basics for sure from watching it.
But I think you pick up almost more bad habits than you do good habits. Like, because I was always going to go out west and go elk hunting someday. Like that's been something I was going to do since I was 5 years old. And so I always would have done it. And I, like I said, I've killed one elk. I don't think my success would have been any worse had I came out here knowing nothing and had my boots and my gear and just went and found elk and figured out what they did and how I was going to get close enough to them, because now that's how I hunt elk. I scout in the summertime. I figure out, are they in this area? How are they using it? And then it's just trying to intercept them moving from one place to the other. And it's, I mean, in theory, quite simple, but it's incredibly hard to actually do.
Yeah, I just don't think that I agree with you. I don't think there's a lot of educational content there in terms of making you a better hunter.
No.
The very best hunters I know do not watch hunting TV or hunting YouTube.
Yeah. Totally agree
and
with
never
that.
did. And never did. It's not like they got what they could from it and walked away. It's just they never did it.
Yeah.
You know? And like, you only get a tiny bit from your dad too. Well, like people say to me, "Well, that's easy for you to say. Your dad." Like I didn't learn. I learned like what I learned from my dad. I could have figured out as a grown person in like a week.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with that too. I hunted with my dad a lot, but honestly, like hunting deer with my dad was, we might talk in the truck there about like where we were going to go sit, but then you go hunt by yourself all day.
Yeah. I mean, what do you need to know? You need to know how to take the thing apart and get it back to the truck.
Yeah. That stuff I learned from my dad.
Yeah. And you can learn that from a diagram. You can learn that from a video. You can learn that from any number of ways. Your buddy's showing you. You should probably realize that when the deer or the elk or whatever else is downwind of you, there's a good chance they're going to smell you and run away. You know,
Yeah.
You should probably learn when you aim at something, where to aim. There's just, it requires, okay. Here, how about this? It seems like you get 90% of what you'd need just by taking hunter safety.
Yeah, I mean, you get the basics, right? But I would argue when you grow up in a hunting family or with friends that hunt from a young age, you do absorb the ethical part of hunting. As long as you're hunting
the
with
media
ethical
is
people.
certainly not teaching you that.
No.
Well, I don't know if you see the post I put up with it. We have a list of 25 celebrity poaching cases now. So you're definitely not learning that from your YouTube hunters.
No.
Hey, I just got to say real quick, shout out to the Michigan chapter. I just pulled up the most recent copy. I'm a life member of BHA, so I still get the journal. And I pay close attention to the chapter news and updates, and because I want to see what they're up to. We've made graphs and quantified it. About a little over half of what they do typically is R3. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's changing now because we've harshed on them so bad about that. But because it's in their own words, the chapter, you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Michigan
chapter. The core of the mission is not R3.
Well,
in their statement.
Absolutely, it's not.
It's all about solitude and the importance of solitude in the backcountry.
Wild places.
Yeah. So, but the chapter news and updates is BHA boards from throughout the country in their own words saying what they've been up to. And I can't think of anything more instructive than that in determining what the balance is between R3, access, hunting rights, advocacy, conservation, etc. And so I just pulled, when you started talking about the Michigan chapter and how they do good things, I pulled it up, and they have 2 bullets from the winter 2026 issue. It's a quarterly journal. The Michigan chapter mobilized opposition to HB 4851, which would have forced the sale of public lands in counties or townships where state managed land exceeded 50%. There's counties in Michigan where over half of it is state.
Yeah, I mean, you get up north and
Oh, yeah. The chapter launched a blog, coordinated outreach, and rallied members to defend public access. And then the second bullet, the chapter challenged the proposed $50 million Copperwood mine subsidy in the 2026 state budget, citing serious environmental threats to Lake Superior and surrounding public waters. Michigan BHA submitted formal letters, activated member engagement, and advocated for responsible stewardship. See, that's good shit right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I joined for, was shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, because like when I was living up by Grand Rapids, that's where you start to get a little bit of public land, but you drive an hour north of there and there's quite a lot more. And public lands became a lot more important to me at that time because I was utilizing them.
Mm-hmm.
When, where I grew up down in Branch County, there was I think there was one chunk of public land in the whole county. It was like 100 acres or something. So I didn't really understand or appreciate how much public land there was in Michigan and how, just the amount of opportunity that creates until I was really an adult.
A lot of it is, this is not to dish on it, but a lot of it does not have much wildlife.
It's probably changed.
Oh, since I was there?
Yeah. When did you move away from Michigan?
27 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, because I bow hunted a lot. I didn't gun hunt on public land. I went back down to private property to do that. But I mean, I always saw deer.
No, I don't mean I don't mean to be like that. I just remember in the UP around, where I grew up, we hunted a couple of family friends' farms most of the time, which was way more productive than the public land around there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was just because I was young and I wasn't experienced when I lived there. Yeah, but what I meant by that is that there's just a lot of land where you could sit in a tree stand for many, many nights without seeing a deer when I was a kid.
Yeah, and now especially if you're talking about the UP, I mean they're like 2 different states, right? Like the Upper Peninsula and Lower Peninsula are vastly different when it comes to deer hunting and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
One's mostly farm country and one's a bunch of pine and cedar swamps.
Yeah.
So like up in the UP, I still don't know if you can get a doe tag up there right now.
Well, and I gather that there's a belief that the wolves are having a pretty big negative impact on whitetail deer in the UP.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, they definitely are. And yeah, and now if you want to get into the whole wolf conversation and what they're doing in Colorado now too, let's not get into it too much because that could be a long rabbit hole. But I just find it really interesting that we're lowering the amount of tags in Colorado for elk hunting because there are less elk than there were before in certain areas. But then we're also planting wolves here to help control the population of elk. Just seems a little
Oh, that's why they
counterproductive.
say that's why that's the motivation.
It was part of the motivation,
yeah, that's
but everything
I
always
could
stems
see
back to
I could see like what if it was wolves are good for tourism and we've decided that we want to mimic to the extent possible pre-European colonization, the pre-European colonization animal community. Ergo, we're going to introduce wolves. Then I'm like, okay, if that's what you're freaking, that's like the tourists like them, and you want to mimic the way it was before white people came. But yeah, there's a lot. If that was the motivation, we gotta take care of an overpopulation of elk. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be more than willing to help with that.
yeah. Well, and the wolves haven't been here for a long time, and we do have a way that we're controlling the population through hunting. And
The elk
you could,
population.
yeah, sorry. And you could look at that as not a natural thing, I guess, but at the same time, like we are part of the ecosystem. And if people are hunting and killing elk and eating them, that we're, to me, that kind of makes us a part of the natural environment, even though it is regulated.
See, yeah, but and this is where it gets philosophical again. I don't care about what it was like in the past. What I care, I'm a secular humanist. What I care about is human well-being. What is going to bring the greatest good to the greatest number of human beings? And I believe, generally speaking, that having wildlife around is going to make us happier than not having wildlife around. But does that make sense so far?
It does make
So
sense.
I don't think of mimicking history as the goal. I think of maximizing human happiness as the goal. And like if wolves were globally endangered, then I think that we should really focus on keeping them around. But there are hunting
100%.
there are hunting districts in Alaska where the stated management objective is trying to kill off some of the wolves. Well, that's the same way it is in Wyoming and Montana too, you know. So I am not like a when and I'm a research ecologist and I work on plants. And you know, I would say most people in my field think when we're talking about restoring native plant degraded rangelands or whatever, or grasslands, the goal is to get it back to what it was like pre-European colonization. And that I don't share that. To
No,
me,
because in my opinion, like natural ecosystems have always changed and evolved over time, and there's no question that humans have sped up that change process. You look at the Great Plains and stuff like that, like it's obvious, but it is the state of how things are right now, and oftentimes nature does find a way to balance out, but it's not necessarily how it used to be.
right. Yeah, I agree. I definitely don't like the idea of things going extinct because of humans.
Yeah,
That
no,
seems like
that's
something we should guard against because who knows what role those plants and animals play now. We're not fully aware of that, or what role they might play in the future, you
yeah. I
know.
mean, we really know a lot more than we used to, but we know so little. In one study that I think about a lot is I I think it's been years since I read this, but I think it was the Oho salmon in the state of Washington. They were finding that in some specific rivers that they studied, there was a very, very low to no reproduction rate in these rivers. Even though these fish were coming up into the rivers to spawn, they weren't seeing the natural reproduction. And they actually found out it was because of a chemical in tires, and there was enough bridges across a short section of this river, and the chemicals in some way caused the
Sterility of some sort.
yeah. And like
Damn.
that's just one of those things that like you would never ever think of. But then I also look at because there's all kinds of crazy stuff on the West Coast with salmon and steelhead and reproduction, and did the dams cause it? And is it the pollution in the rivers that is causing it? But then I look at rivers in Michigan, like the Grand River, that have factories on them, and there's tons of bridges and whatnot over them, and there is natural reproduction of fish in those rivers. Granted, they still do a lot of planting, but there is a lot of natural reproduction in what I would call a river that isn't necessarily uh, prime habitat for that species. And then you take the Pacific Northwest rivers, like way up in the northern part of Washington, and those are pristine. Like there are very few bridges, there aren't factories on them, there aren't any dams on those rivers in that area. So they're about as close to natural as they ever possibly could have been, and they're still seeing, you know, really low numbers of fish counts coming up these rivers. And I'm not leading to an answer. I'm more so leading to we just don't know very much.
Yeah. Oh,
Even
yeah.
with all of the data that we've collected, it's like we still can't put a pin in the reason for why this is happening.
Yeah. My brother studies salmon for a living. He works for Fish and Wildlife Service. And he would agree that it's complicated, but with like those, I think he would tell you that there's pretty considerable evidence for those, like the runs you're talking about in Washington, that's not what's going on in the river, it's what's going on in the ocean.
So that's been my theory, and I even talked to a biologist in Washington about this on my podcast, and I'm not a scientist. I do not work in the industry. This is purely just my observation, but I'm like, I really think it's something that's going on out in the ocean, because back to my point about natural reproduction happening in inferior rivers in the state of Michigan, you still see this cycle of like really big salmon, and then there's almost no salmon, and then they'll be really small for a while, and the 20 pounder is a really big one, and then 10 years later they're catching 35, 40 pound salmon again. And that you can correlate back to the food source and the overall amount of fish that are in the Great Lakes. So that's what led me to believe, I think it's something going on in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
or
ocean temperatures.
microplastics
I think that ocean
killing off
temperatures
a food source.
yeah,
Something weird.
Yeah, ocean temperatures. I think he would tell you a bunch of stuff about, if he was with us right now, he would say that and that commercial fishing in the oceans has a big role.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? Maybe microplastics. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just a crazy idea I threw out there. I have no research to back that up. But you wonder, like, back to the pollution from the rubber falling off the tires into these small creeks. What else are we affecting we just have absolutely no idea about?
I remember when I was a graduate student at Michigan State, I was in this course that was talking about, and somehow I don't remember even what class it was, but the instructor was talking about the role of human estrogen in the environment. And it, like that gets introduced in the environment through the sewage system and stuff like that.
Mm.
And it can turn male fish into female fish.
That stuff's wild.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of crazy shit like that, I when we got on this thread, what I was talking about, what's I guess kind of an abiding interest to me is what the goal should be with a lot of things. Like what should be the goal when we're managing ecosystems? What should the goal be with managing natural ecosystems? I think the goal should be in all cases, I think the goal should be overall human well-being, the greatest good for the greatest number for the longest amount of time possible, and to that's what motivates my conservation aesthetic is that,
Yeah.
It's not like the animal has some kind of intrinsic value. I think its value derives from what I think it's important to conserve animals for us,
Yeah.
and then like we were talking about earlier with whether a Great Lake steelhead is a steelhead or not. I mean, all that kind of stuff only matters to me in as much as it changes on a day-to-day basis from a practical level what we do, how we behave, how we manage things, and there are practical implications for that. There's just a difference between going, we need to manage this prairie so that it looks like when the buffalo roamed it. Or we need to manage this prairie so that it provides lots of grass. Maybe some of that grass for the wildlife to eat. Maybe some of that grass is European species of grass. I don't know. It's like,
yeah,
as long as the other grasses aren't going extinct, it could be a mix of smooth brome and crested wheatgrass with some natives mixed in. Like those are two non-natives, the first two I mentioned there. But we don't need to extirpate these non-natives. We don't need to have it looking like 1850. I mean, it'd take a lot of chemicals to achieve that, and that would do damage. And that's the same thing with hunting. I think that hunting culture should be, because I think this hunting social media and hunting TV, it rewards our most selfish, negative impulses,
Yeah. Totally agree with that.
So I'm like, how should hunting culture be? How should we structure it? And I think it should be structured again that it brings the greatest good to the greatest number. And I'm not trying to do it through laws. People call me a communist and all this shit all the time. And I'm trying to regulate it. I'm not trying to pass any laws. I just think that if the goal is the greatest good for the greatest number, then there's some adjustments that need to be made, because I guess a way you hear articulated a lot is that it's becoming a rich man's sport, or becoming like the European model, right?
Yeah.
And I just see it's going that way instead of the North American model, where it's supposed to be that everybody has an opportunity.
Yeah, and I mean, you have to have laws and regulations and things like that, and that doesn't make you a socialist or a communist. Like, we live in a society, and I think the definition of a society is like having shared values and rules that people in a geographic region all abide to. So like it makes laws and regulation necessary for society to function.
I agree with that. And I totally agree with that. But to the extent that we can the hunting community can start looking out for one another without having to impose laws, that seems a little better. But,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to be the one that's like lobbying the legislature to make it so that everybody can only shoot one elk a year because, only there's only so many elk to go around. Or
Yeah. I mean, I kind of look at hunting as a tool that natural resource departments can use to manage uh, the natural resources for the greater good, like you're saying. And that's for the greater good of human beings, but also for the greater good of the species themselves. Like you said, I don't ever want to see animals go extinct because of something humans did. I think we're supposed to try to take care of natural resources and make sure that they're thriving as well as humans thriving as well. Because you could argue, like, if you want to just go down the greater good uh, path, like, what if there is a solution where we don't really have any wildlife anymore, but there is an abundance of human beings and we're thriving and happy. Like, it's not a world I want to live in. Like, I would never want to see that happen, and I don't think I could be a happy person in that scenario. But if that was for the greatest amount of good for the greatest amount of people, should we do it? Like,
um
should we say, well, we tried to manage these elk herds and deer herds for a long time, but now we just have too many people, and we need to make sure the people are surviving.
I think that we've implicitly made that choice in a lot of cases already. Like, there's a lot of species that went extinct. I think there's some species in the Colorado River that are extremely imperiled or extinct, like chubs, some species of chubs and stuff like that,
Hmm.
because of dams, but we didn't remove the dams, to save them. Like, there, I, I think that there are cases where, well, look at the bison, right? Like, they're not extinct, but I mean, they used to be like an ecological engineer. They just had a massive impact on the Great Plains, right? They were
Yeah.
just a dominant feature. So, from a practical standpoint, they're extinct, and one could argue, but we decided that was better for us. You know what I'm saying? That
It- that it was better to keep some of them around,
No, that it was better for us that they weren't what they were.
I mean,
Like,
that's a whole can of worms. That Yeah, I don't think that we had the buffalo hunters on the Great Plains killing them all because they felt that we'd be better off without them.
I mean, there's just millions of species that have gone extinct. And
Yeah.
one could imagine that if we had a hard line in the sand, that we're not going to let anything go extinct because of human beings, that we would have structured society in a vastly different way. So it just
Yeah.
seems to
Well,
me
and we
that,
have now, in the last 100 years, 150 years, we have restructured society in a way that hopefully wildlife can thrive alongside of us. Um, but at the same time, the human population grows and they need somewhere to go as well. So yeah, we're going to continue to build more cities and more neighborhoods. And then that gets into the whole, like, like, I've had an ethical debate with myself, like, should more people move out to the country? I like to live in the country. I don't right now, but I have most of my life, and I prefer that lifestyle. And I think most people would be happier if they could, but if we all move out to the country, we no longer have countryside. So then you look at, countries in Europe like Germany, and you can't just go build houses wherever you want. You can't just buy up 10 acres and put 10 houses on it and build a neighborhood. Like the neighborhoods have to be where the neighborhoods are. And then, farmland or forested areas have to stay forested, because in a small country like that, if you just start building everywhere, you got nothing left in a hurry.
I think we should all move to one state, like, I don't know, a state that's not too hot and not too cold, and rewild the rest of the country and just have it be the rest of the country be a playground.
Oh man, but then how often do you get to go enjoy it?
Oh, fuck. I'm going to retire pretty soon. I'll be out there all the time. There's
too long.
There's a species of fish in Montana called the pallid sturgeon. And it was once quite common, and there's not been any documented natural reproduction of that fish in many, many decades now. There's some number that are tagged, and every year these biologists go out and find the tagged fish. They're radio tagged, capture them, take eggs and sperm from them, and rear them in a hatchery, and then release them into the river. And the reason that's all necessary is because of these big dams on the Missouri.
Because they can't make it to where their natural spawning habitat would have been.
When the eggs hatch, the larvae floats in the current, and it just floats downstream and feeds on microscopic organisms just floating, and then it eventually gets large enough that it can swim. But the problem is that by the time they get to that point, they're in one of the reservoirs, and it's not suitable for them to live. So they just end up floating down into those reservoirs and dying.
Man, you just think there would be, a limited amount of natural reproduction going on somewhere in a river that big.
Just because they haven't found it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But they haven't observed it, So I guess there's a case where we've prioritized something other than maintaining a species.
Yeah. Yeah, and like a lot of that stuff was done unintentionally in ignorance without understanding the impact.
Right. But it's certainly not the case that we hurry up and correct it after the fact.
No, well, no, like, yeah, it's removing dams is quite controversial topic.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I mean,
okay, let me specify a little bit, like the dams on the Pacific Rim that are implicated in salmon declines, if you believe that or not. I tend to believe it, but
yeah, has it affected them? Absolutely, 100%. And like, if I could go wave a magic wand and make everything perfect, I'd take all the dams out and have it go back to the way that it was. But obviously, it's not that simple. And it really comes down to, like, there are solutions. We don't actually need those dams. We do have alternate sources of energy. And if we didn't have, a ton of people living in the middle of the desert, and we had to build reservoirs so we had enough water to fuel both what people need to drink, and also the economy, the businesses there, data centers like we talked about earlier, things like that. We wouldn't need those things. We could have nuclear power if people were trustworthy, and we didn't have to worry about those potentially getting bombed someday. As long as you're not in a
Oh,
high.
is that why we don't have nuclear power? Is because the threat of other of foreign countries bombing the
Well, that
reactors?
I mean, that's not the only reason that a natural reactor would, or not natural reactor, a nuclear reactor would fail, right? Like we've seen it. There was that one in, where was it? Japan.
Fukushima.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I think there is probably lessons learned in ways that we could do it safely. But the concern is, I think that something bad is going to happen to one of those, and it's going to cause a lot of, lot of issues for natural resources. But you could put those in areas where we didn't have to worry about it as much. There was actually one that they built, which I thought was crazy. They even built it there in Washington. It's off one of the highways. You can see it, and they never opened it up. And I'm like,
Yeah,
holy
I
heck.
saw that. I saw that.
It's a good thing they didn't, because that's bound to get hit by an earthquake someday.
Yeah.
But like, let's
Yeah,
take
what's that
Nevada.
called? What's that called? Do you remember what that's called? That
I don't remember. But crazy, they built the whole thing, right? And
yeah, and then they never opened it.
Up. In that situation, it's a good thing, but we could, I don't know, maybe the western part, our eastern part of Washington would be safer. You could build them in the desert down south and send all that electric up north. I think there's ways around it, but problem is it's just not easy to get that done. Uh, I don't know. I think nuclear power would solve a lot of our issues if we could figure out a way to do it safely. And I think trust has a lot to do with it. Because what if somebody does bomb it? What if we do get into a war with Russia someday?
Oh, yeah. I'm open to. I don't know shit about energy. I've been watching Landman lately. Have you watched that show?
No, I've been hearing a lot of good things about it though.
Oh, it's so good. But there's a lot of talk about how there's the oil and gas. The main character believes that there's no good solution. I mean, that oil and gas is the best we got, unless something else comes around. And he
What era
talks
is that
about
set in? Are they talking about nuclear power at all, or is that
they don't. He doesn't talk about nuclear. But he talks about. It's really like the way he talks about it is really freaking compelling, and it's he talks about solar and wind, and there's a lot of problems with solar and wind from an environmental standpoint.
Yeah,
too.
for sure.
Do you listen to music?
Yeah, I listen to all kinds of music.
Ryan Adams?
I always say no, and then what I'm really bad at is knowing names of artists, but I might know every word to one of his songs.
He was in a band called Whiskey Town in the, I guess, late 90s, and then had a very, very successful solo career. Then he got Me Too'd. He was like, to chicks, he was like, you want to make it in the music industry? Maybe if you sleep with me, you might get somewhere, that kind of a thing. But yeah, he's got a song called Nuclear. Nuclear. You should check it out. It's such a great song, man. Like, yeah. Whenever I hear when I talk about nuclear energy, I can't help but think of that song. It's just beautiful.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, going nuclear. Ryan Adams, great number. Like, and if people, I can talk about him having good if people could talk about Michael Jackson's music being good, I can talk about Ryan Adams' music being good.
My rule with music artists or with actors is I don't want to know anything about their personal life. All I want to know about is the art that they create, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah, right. I think that's about right. I think that's correct, because it doesn't mean beautiful art is beautiful art. If they did a horrible shit, then that's a separate issue. I guess if I had to argue against what I just said, is like, well, yeah, but you're giving them royalties.
Yeah, and it is true.
But not Michael Jackson, it's not true.
He's not getting
Michael Jackson
anymore.
don't give a shit how often you listen to his albums. Oh man, I'm gonna go eat some supper.
All right. Well, it was a fun conversation.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope
that it was worthwhile for you. I sure enjoyed it.
No, this is what I definitely miss about doing my own podcast, is just meeting new people and having really interesting conversations and learning new things.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I've really thought about starting it up again because I enjoyed it, but I've just turned into such an old curmudgeon that I want nothing to do with creating any more content around the outdoors.
Yeah. Maybe you should join our team. You can join the curmudgeons. Well, keep in touch, if there's anything, as you think about that, like, do you have ideas about doing something that would be, that would be beneficial, I'd love to hear
I would talk about it, because there's also the part of me that's like, feels a little bit guilty for not trying to do something to better the lifestyle that I like to live, which is outdoors. And it's like, I used to be very active in trying to do good and make things better and change my opinion on a lot of it. But there are days where I'm like, man, I feel like I should be doing something.
Yeah. Well, I think working on conservation and access is what people should be doing.
Agreed. Yeah. I think you have a list, right, of like conservation organizations that you believe in and that are good.
Yeah. I put out some in our newsletter. I think it might be on our website, but I don't know. But yeah.
I thought I saw that.
Yeah. There's a lot of great orgs out there.
Pheasants Forever is the only one I'm a part of right now.
Mm.
And because I believe they actually put a lot of their money towards
the
habitat.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe not access so much, but habitat.
They do some stuff for access. I'm not a huge fan of them because they do R3, but like I got to take a tough stance on them. Like, the only one in my mind, I'm the only one going against the counter narrative. So I just, on our website, it says don't donate to nonprofits that do R3. There's another organization, if you like song or gallinaceous birds, that I had the guy on, what's his name? Ted Koch, I think, from the North American Grouse Partnership. That's another gallinaceous bird nonprofit that does good work.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
And then TRCP, I think, is a pretty good organization.
Yeah, I know I was a member for several years of TRCP. See, the only downside of I'm not on social media anymore. I still have the accounts, and I might get on there occasionally to look up something specific or like message somebody. But I don't keep it on my phone, and you just you do get disconnected from some of that stuff. You don't hear about it or think about it. And like TRCP, I don't think I ever was like, I'm not going to be a member of this group anymore, but I doubt that I am because I
Yeah,
haven't renewed it
yeah,
unless it's on
right,
some.
right. My favorite nonprofit hunting in the hunting space, my favorite nonprofit is Hunters for Access.
Is that the one that you're a part of or you're
Mm-hmm.
running?
Yeah, in my mind, hunters should be supportive of hunters in the hunting industry should be supportive of Hunters for Access. Do you know what we do?
I believe I heard about it on one of the podcasts, but go tell me about it again. What's the mission statement?
Well, we really don't have one, but it's probably more succinct to just say what we do, which is we show appreciation to landowners that are enrolled in state-run access programs that allow public hunting.
Yeah, which is important to me here in Colorado. If you want to go bird hunting, if you want to go pheasant hunting, all of the places you can go hunt are private land that are accessible to public hunting.
What's the name of the program there?
It's the Walk-In Colorado Walk-In Access Program. I'm probably getting that wrong.
Yeah, if you
But
wanted to do something, there's a case to be made. You should start a Hunters for Access chapter there.
yeah, let's talk about that.
Okay,
spent a decent amount of time on it.
it's on you if you want to do it. Like, what I mean by that is I don't pressure people, man. So I let people come to me with stuff like that, but we do a lot of good shit, but it takes people that are committed to the cause. We got appreciation dinners coming up here in Montana. We don't throw them here. The Fish, Wildlife, and Parks throws them here, and we just go there and swag the fuck out of these farmers and ranchers, give out all kinds of gifts. But then we do work projects here. Then in Kansas, our Kansas chapter is throwing a big appreciation dinner. Our Wyoming chapter is throwing an appreciation dinner, all for people that instead of leasing their land out or frickin' signing up with Land Trust or HRBO or whatever, they allow Joe Schmo to come out and hunt.
Yeah, that's where I've been hunting.
A
year with my dog.
Well, give it some thought, and if you were willing to do it, I guarantee you, I'd find you helpers. I know 3 guys right now that I'd say, hey, you should team up with Landon to get this done. One of them used to be the head of the White River National Forest there.
Oh, okay. I've hunted out there.
Yeah. Him and then another guy that's helped out a lot. There's enough guys down there that you guys could have a chapter.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will shoot you an email or give you a call or something and give you some more info.
Yeah.
What other people are doing. I'd be interested.
It doesn't have to be hard. I mean, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It could be just as simple as go into a couple sporting goods stores, get a few little donations, and then buy some appreciation gifts and ship them in the mail to people that are enrolled in the program. I mean, how hard is that?
Pretty easy. A couple days worth of work.
At most. Couple days. I'd say that's to have a chapter. That's probably the minimum. 2 days a year. But shit, man. That's like doing good stuff.
Right.
It's so selfless.
You know, you're doing it for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's my spiel. That's the best I can do in terms of a motivational speech. But I just
Well,
think
no,
that
I like
think
it,
the
man.
hunters and the hunting industry, they should be on board with Hunters for Access. Man, I don't get it. I don't see
Yeah, we've lost I mean, it's different every year and what, you know, who participates and who doesn't. But I know for a fact that we've lost a good chunk of the land that was accessible to public due to, you know, windmills are going up
Oh,
and they're paying a lot of money to put them up there. And I get it. They don't want people hunting while they're trying to put windmills up. I don't want to hunt. I don't want people around me that I don't know hunting either.
mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, you lose those areas and there's not a bunch of other people behind them raising their hand to get enrolled in the program.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to do something, man. If people want to have places to go and they want to have places for their kids to go, where it's not pay hunting, which I don't even think is real hunting, we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah.
And if the hunting industry wants to sell products to people, those people got to have places to use the frickin' products. You
Right.
know. So I don't know, man. I'm just throwing it out there to people. It's like, this is what I'm trying to do. Maybe it's not that big a deal to, I don't let it fuck. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, that should be a huge priority.
Agreed.
Is building good relationships with landowners that allow public access. So, yeah. All right, Landon. Nice chatting with you. Wishing you the best.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Take
You as
care.
well.
Good luck with everything. All right. Good night.